Hi there, my name is Ken Irvine. I'm the Education Coordinator at Guelph Museums, and today I'd like to tell you about Stewart Lumber and the Great Fire of Guelph in 1821. During Guelph's early years, lumber was plentiful, inexpensive, and the main building material used to construct homes and businesses for this growing city. In 1854, Robert Stewart Sr., a master carpenter, came to Guelph to start the city's first planing mill. Well, what is a planing mill? Well, it's a mill that takes dried and seasoned boards and cuts and planes them into finished lumber. And as a master carpenter, Stewart knew lumber. He'd started a lumber business in Toronto and in Milton before moving to Guelph. And why did he come to Guelph? Why did he choose Guelph to set up his planing mill? Well, in his younger days, he'd actually visit Guelph to attend the horse races at Exhibition Park and attend the agricultural fairs held in November, the provincial winter fair. And he liked the city so much that he and his wife, Annie McGregor, came to settle in this growing city in 1854, which is where they started their family and had 10 children. He initially located his lumber yard close to downtown, but it was at the corner of Paisley and Glasgow Street, where St. James Church now stands. But as his business grew, he moved the mill twice before establishing his business on Wyndham Street, right across the street where the former post office is, in 1869. But his advertising in the 1880s actually claimed that 75% of all Guelph businesses were built with Stewart Lumber. By 1886, the mill was known as the Robert Stewart Lumber Company Limited, and it employed over 30 people. Robert Stewart Sr. became a prominent citizen of the city. He was a Mason and a member of St. Andrew's Church, and he lived to the grand old age of 90. As the lumber company grew, his oldest son Edward took over the running of the mill. In 1921, though, 3 years after Robert Stewart Sr. passed away, tragedy struck. On the early morning of July 21st, in the midst of a spell of hot, dry weather, Stewart Lumber caught fire. The fire department received a phone call at 4:05 in the morning. The alarm was sent out to the 19 regular firefighters and 6 assistants who were under the direction of Fire Chief Robert Knighton. When the fire department arrived, the fire was burning rapidly throughout the entire plant. After 5 hours of fighting, it was finally brought under control. No lives were lost, but several firemen were slightly burned. And the cause of the fire, or where it started, was never determined. The lumber company was destroyed with an estimated loss of over $500,000. Also, numerous properties were involved in the early morning fire. About 16 stores and one house suffered either complete destruction or heavy damages. The Stewart plant, built in 1864, constructed of brick and stone, was completely destroyed. After the fire, Edward Stewart built a new factory on Cardigan Street, down Wyndham, which at the time was the largest lumber dealer in Canada. The company went through some really tough times, though, with the Great Depression affecting the company greatly. Edward's son, Robert, said the depression and the hounding of the bank manager killed his father. Robert Stewart Jr., the grandson of the founder, took over the running of the company at age 23. He ran the business on Cardigan Street until 1962, when the business was sold. Today, we know the lumberyard site as the Stewart Mill Lofts, which are an open concept apartments facing the Speed River and the Guelph Youth Music Center. So what happened to the site of the lumberyard on Wyndham Street? Well, it was a few years before any new construction appeared on the site. There was a large area to clean up, and the insurance adjuster tried to determine what the cause of the fire was without any luck. And there was a great loss to other businessmen and individuals who were affected by the fire. So the lot was empty for about 5 years, until a miniature golf course actually set up on the empty lot, as you can see in the picture. The mini golf course did not stay there for long, as the federal government bought the site to use as a new post office. In 1936, the new building opened, filling the empty space on Wyndham Street that had been there for 15 years. The plans for the new post office were created by the Department of Public Works in Ottawa by a Mr. Chadwick. The supervising architect was William Mahoney from Guelph. Construction was done by Taupe Construction from Hamilton for $250,000. The building's exterior design is modern classicism, and it's the only design of this style in Guelph. But one really interesting and unusual component of the interior was an enclosed observation gallery, which was an interconnected catwalk which hung from the ceiling of the ground in the second floors, where mail handling and postal transactions could be observed by the RCMP and the postal management without them being visible to the postal workers or the public. The building was Guelph's main post office until 2005, when Canada Post moved to Woodlawn Road. Many people in Guelph hoped that the new public library would actually move into this building, but instead the building was purchased by the County of Wellington for office space. We're now standing in front of what was Guelph's first post office and known as the Customs House, well, one of the first post offices. And regrettably, moving the post office activities from this building to the building down Wyndham Street where Stewart Lumber was one of the factors that led to this building that you can see in the image, this building's destruction and demolition in the 1960s. So the Great Fire of Guelph in 1921 actually impacted the look of Guelph's downtown for over 40 years.